All right, Charlie. How you doing? Charlie.
Bro, Ade.
It's been a while, my brother. Everything
Yes, everything cool.
Bless.
Everything cool,
I beg, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Chris Atadika.
Yeah.
I'm a doctoral student at the University of Ghana. My research area is in the area of political marketing. So, as a student of marketing, I just, for my PhD, decided to delve into the area of politics and how marketing plays a role in politics, in the management of candidates, political parties, government communication, stuff like that. And I mean, policy promotion, conversations around those areas are the areas I research in. So, first and foremost, I'm a student. I also do some consultancy, marketing consultancy on the side, so I consult for companies, entities, people. I have been a part of campaign teams. So strategizing for political parties, candidates for to win elections.
Exactly.
So all around, I'll just say I'm a marketing person. And it just happens that I have specialized in the area of politics. But general marketing, everything like marketing is what I do.
All right, that's great. So this episode, we're going to be talking about politics, especially since Ghana has just now voted in a new president.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about what happened and what your opinion is about, especially after the vote. What do you think happened? Like, how do you see the whole atmosphere of our elections? Compared to, let's say, our sub-region. What would you say Ghana did right or Ghana did wrong in that sense?
Okay, so I feel that Ghana found itself, you're not supposed to say itself when you're referring to a country. So Ghana found herself in a position politically where you had a lot of young people being more involved in the conversation. There was a lot of talk on social media. There was a lot of banter. We were also in the age of people referring politicians to things that they said in the past. So, like the popular phrase, receipts. People would bring digital receipts of things that politicians have said in the past through their social media posts, videos. So, I guess this particular election was very much done in a digitalized form. Campaigning was very, digital. Conversations were very digital. There were several demonstrations. Young people got involved. So it became a very heated situation. A lot more people felt the need to be a part of the process. Even people that I know personally. I wasn't in the country for some months before the election, but I came to Ghana particularly to vote. Generally, young people were very much involved. And when we go into the conversation, we'll probably speak to the specifics.
Exactly.
But you saw a party that has been in power for 2 terms, an incumbent that had its vice president wanting to run to lead the country. And he had some reason saying he was the mate, not the driver.
The rhetoric.
The rhetoric. And that he had to be given the opportunity to be in the driver's seat. So that aside, you also have on the other side, the 2 main party on the other side, someone who has been president before, who was voted out in 2016, and now coming back on the ticket of the NDC. So it was very interesting. The dynamics were very interesting. You had 2 people from the northern part of Ghana.
True.
And we wanted to see how the dynamics was going to look like. Because of that, the MPP had to take a vice presidential candidate from Ashanti region. You also had the NDC having the struggles of whether to stick with, Professor Jane from the previous election, 2020, moving into election 2024. So the dynamics were a lot. There was a lot to learn.
There was a lot. Yeah.
There was a lot to observe. There was a lot to deliberate on. There was a lot to debate. And I'm happy that at the end of the day, as Ghanaians as we are, and as peaceful as we have been as a people, we were able to rise to the occasion. And comparing ourselves to other countries in the sub-region, we're able to have peaceful elections, even though there were a few flashpoints.
Exactly. Yeah.
At the end of the day, we were able to organize a peaceful transition, and then we are here.
We're here. From a political marketing point of view, right? Looking at how the election goes, let's say two parties, right? What's your analysis on how it played in terms of the marketing part, how it influenced the people, or what type of message it did? It can be whatever, right? In terms of rhetoric, in terms of what would you say from a very technical point of view? What do you think the NDC did right or the NPP did wrong that cost them an election or won the election in that sense?
Okay, so let me speak to the NPP bit, because they were obviously in government, and you had a lot of Ghanaians wanting to hear what they have to say, because the point is that what you are going to say may align or may differ with what we are experiencing, because you are in government.
Yeah.
So usually when it's easy to criticize a government that is in power. Yeah. It's easy to criticize the incumbent because you are experiencing whatever they say they are doing. So you had a lot of instances where what MPP was saying wasn't really what was on the ground or what Ghanaians were feeling. You're telling us that you're managing the economy well. People don't see it in the interest rates.
Let me ask you this question before you continue. Do you think as the rise of social media also made accountability very, very, people could find information easily? So
Definitely.
if you tell me something, I can easily look it up and find it compared to the, let's say, last 8 years or something.
Definitely. It was what made this election. That young people could use digital tools, digital platforms to discuss, to engage in political discourse. Okay, so young people weren't only searching on social media or searching on the internet for past things that politicians have said. The young people were also using social media tools to campaign. People were using TikTok. There were TikTok innovation. There was the use of virtual reality. People would even put augmented reality. People would even put their images on a video and be expressing facial expressions to what the video is saying. So people used several tools, digital tools. So technology really played a central role in this election. I mean, talking about the hashtags that were trending, even talking about the videos trending. The people made a lot of compilation of videos to compare what politicians have said previously to what they're saying now. So that in itself, it's a whole discussion. Like the politics was really driven, using digital platforms and technology. So back to what I was saying, that people had a lot more to compare the MPP with, because they were experiencing. So it was just unfortunate that the MPP had a position where a lot of the things they were saying were not,
tallying with the reality,
sound on the realities of the day. And they were fact-checked several times, and it came out that most of the things they were saying were lies. We created 2 million jobs. The beneficiaries of the free SHS are this number.
Even recently, the 12-kilometer road is this like...
they said they built this number of XYZ number of roads. It also comes out that it was factually incorrect. So it got to a point, Ghanaians were like, are these people taking us for a fool? Like, why are they lying to us in our face? Because we are experiencing these things, and it just looks like these people are saying things that do not correlate with what we're experiencing. So that was the thing for the MPP. The major problem that they faced was the fact that in marketing, we call it brand dissonance. You see, when a brand says something and then does something differently from what they say. So like when you experience in marketing, when you buy something and you end up receiving and you say, what I ordered versus what I got. That kind of thing, right? Yeah. So you are telling me that you are fixing this and I am experiencing something different.
And I'm telling you that's not the case.
That's not the case.
Exactly.
So what you are promising as a brand is not what you are delivering. And that was the problem of the NPP. So they made it very easy for the opposition party to like the NDC to just keep hitting at them.
Exactly.
The NDC
they made the jobs very easy for them.
Very easy. All the NDC had to do was to throw their own words in their face.
Yeah.
And it just worked. And the point was, Ghanaians were angry. It wasn't even just about the NPP and its failures.
Yeah.
Over the years, Ghanaians have had this hope. It's like the hope dwindles, their patriotism dwindles, and then the politicians come to promise, and then they keep their hopes high again, and then later on the politicians do it again.
Yeah.
So we were in a point where Ghanaians were like, you know what? We are tired, of these people.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of people not to vote.
It was a general sentiment everywhere.
General sentiment. People even decided not to vote.
Yeah.
Because they felt like, oh, what is the point? Because when I even do it, it's not even about NPP and NDC anymore. When I even go out and go and vote, at the end of the day, they are still going to give us the unsatisfactory governance that they have been giving us. So, I mean, that was the thing on both sides. NDC used the words of NPP well against them. They kept referring them to their own promises and the things that they said they were going to do, they were not able to do. The NDC also used social media very well.
Yeah, they did. Whoever is their marketing thing, they really did well.
They did well. They also had very good government communicators.
Yeah.
People who were representing the NDC side on most of the morning political shows, evening political shows, were very apt.
They were very outspoken.
They delivered properly.
Exactly.
One other thing the NDC also did was to use the youth.
Yeah, they were heavily involved.
They were able to mobilize the youth. And I always say that the national youth organizer of the NDC, now the Minister of Youth and Empowerment Development, the ministry, the new ministry that this government has created, he played a critical role in the NDC campaign. The youth of the NDC, the youth wing of the NDC, were all over the place. Social media, interactions at the various academic campuses, educational institutions. They really reached out.
They targeted the youth and it worked.
It really worked. So that is what I would say when in favor of the NDC.
Yeah. Let me ask you, do you think, it's never been a case where any political party since the Fourth Republic was breaking the eight, right? Where, they go for 8 years and Ghanaians are tired. You think also that played a role in the defeat of the in this election?
I mean, election trends, you look at it, Ghanaians always, I don't want to call it fatigue, but sometimes when you, as a citizen, you are seeing the same people over and over. They are the ones on TV representing the government. The government is speaking. You tend to get tired of the same people, But the point also is, and I think that if the MPP had satisfied Ghanaians, Ghanaians would have given them the opportunity to break the eight.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. If Dr. Baumia's promises were fulfilled, he delivered on all of the things he said. Trust me, I have a feeling that Ghanaians, we would have still maintained them to continue the things that they were doing.
It's true.
I don't feel like anybody who put themselves in a position where if things are right, they would want change.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless, of course, there's someone that has promised them
something better.
So in this case, it wasn't like MPP was doing well and NDC promised something better and Ghanaians went in for and NDC promised something better and Ghanaians went in for NDC. No, it was because MPP had messed up. They had failed Ghanaians, disappointed Ghanaians. Okay, Ghanaians were
about it.
Unapologetic, arrogant, and Ghanaians were dissatisfied. And Ghanaians said, "Hey, no,
exactly.
This needs to stop. This nonsense must stop." And it was seen in the results from the election.
Yeah.
Even look at the number of parliamentarians.
I'm even about to go there.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. It was like, wow.
See, I had always, from the polls that we had, I mean, both from the university, we had conducted several polls. Global Info Analytics, Musa Danko's Global Info Analytics had always brought out polls. The polls indicated slightly above 52%.
Yeah.
It didn't even go beyond 53.
Exactly.
I never, in my wildest imaginations, thought that the NDC was going to get beyond 55.
I was so surprised, 56 point something. Right?
Yes, I'm like, Ghanaians were really upset. And the point was, they were just quiet. They were lying low. And they were like, we will show you in the ballot box. We will show you in the ballot box. And I think that it was great. It was great that we spoke in the manner that we spoke, because it's not just an indication to the MPP that, I mean, we are angry with you, but it's an indication to the NDC as well. When you come and you mess up,
because the level of trust they've given you,
exactly,
to be able to
the mandate,
exactly,
the mandate is so significant. So if you mess up just like the MPP did, and we put them out, we're going to take you out.
I see that you try to hold them accountable with tweets and certain things you've been doing.
Exactly,
I like that. And
exactly.
Talking about that, let's come to post-election, where we have all the elements set in terms of the parliamentary. They just started a few days ago.
Yeah.
What do you think about the majority side, where they don't necessarily need the minority to make decisions in terms of, let's say, policies and all these laws and vote counts?
Yeah.
How does that? What are the pros and cons in terms of our democracy? What are the pros and cons in having these things? Right? Is it going to be proper representation in the parliament? Because if we have one side that can make decisions regardless of whatever the other side says, is it good or bad for,
So the point is, because these, like the MPP and the NDC, are noted to go at each other, several instances where once the MPP is doing something and it's even right for the country or is in the interest of the country, you would have the NDC just oppose because they are in opposition.
Exactly. They've even started
and recently. It's the same.
Like, I heard something where, I know NDC is trying to take away the, what do you call it? The e-levy and everything. I think Afenyo Markin started saying that if you take e-levy and add, the tax, the poll tax,
the road toll.
The road toll, it's all the same. I was like, how can you say that? This is not the same. I send you money right now, I'm paying taxes. I'm not driving anywhere. I just need to drive to a polling thing and just pay my thing. Not everybody does that. Yesterday, my guy sent like close to how much Ghana cedis? Close to 10,000. Imagine how much he's spending on that.
Exactly.
And you're saying that they're all the same. They're not the same. So when you say this, you're just unnecessary banter like that.
But the question is, the MPP also promised to abolish it.
Oh,
they promised that they were going to abolish these things.
That's why I realized that they are taking us for granted. You just introduce something, cut a cake, and enjoy it in front of our face, and to come and tell us you're taking it out.
Exactly.
Okay?
I mean, you look at the representation in Parliament, and just because we have had past instances where the MPP is doing something because, I mean, if they are in government, the NDC would just oppose because they are just in opposition. You would have, and it's the same, NDC in government, the MPP would just oppose because they are just in opposition. So I feel that the significant majority that the NDC has would allow them to roll out, the programs that they want to put in place for drastic change. And they do not necessarily need, the MPPs, backing on that. So that being said, the fact that it would allow for speed when it comes to decision making in governance, especially when the government has a particular focus area or direction and they want to follow with that. Apart from that, the there's a downside of it that it can be abused by the significant majority, which is the NDC, to just bully the MPP government. I mean, I feel that the principle of the separation of powers, I mean, in the government structure, in democracy, we have the executive, we have the legislature, we have the judiciary. So all these entities work, and I mean, the popular, which is the media, which is the fourth arm of government. All these entities put checks and balances, make sure that there are checks and balances to each other and the rules that they play. So even though NDC has a significant majority, I don't think that it would warrant them the opportunity to bully their way through in government or bully Ghanaians or no. It may not necessarily look like a dictatorship. No, we are going to have a situation or an instance where these other entities are going to check the executive. They are going to check the legislature, which is parliament. They're going to check each other to ensure that the right thing is done. So people have raised concerns about that. But I mean, it's not that of a bad situation as some are making it look.
Is it the first time we've had a bigger majority like this in our history?
Okay, so not necessarily in our history, because I think in 1996 coming to 2020, or I think 1992 to 1996, that period, it was a period where, the NDC, PNDC time era. It was the period where I think the MPP had boycotted parliament. We have had that situation or scenario in the past. So the moment they boycotted parliament, you more or less had, majority coming from the NDC or the PNDC era at the time, that were in parliament. But I mean, post 2000 election, this has been the first time where you are having such a significant, majority.
Okay. That's an interesting one. What do you think about Mahama's 120 days policy in that sense? The plans he has because he has several things he wants to implement, and in the 120 days, period, do you think is feasible?
Okay, so, like we always see, the relationship politicians have with, the citizens is a social contract, right? So social contract in the sense that they can promise something on the campaign platform. Nobody may necessarily hold them accountable. I mean, even though entities can hold them accountable, the point is that what they said before you voted for them, when they are being voted in, they can decide not to really, do it or fulfill it, because it was just a promise. Like that too, but the point is that governments over the period have had, I've seen the need to assure the citizens of some speed work once they take office. And in the past, it has always been my first 100 days, I'm going to do this. In my first 100 days, I'm going to do this. So Mahama bringing in extra 20 days, brings some novelty to it. That now we have an extension to 120 days. I believe that a lot of the things that he promised in his 120-day, document that came out were things to reassure Ghanaians that we are not like the MPP. We are going to change, some of the things that the MPP did wrong, like all of the taxes that they imposed, the draconian taxes they imposed on Ghanaians. We're going to scrap all of them.
It's funny how they campaigned against taxes and they came and just added more taxes.
And then you remember that because they wanted Bawumia to come in as president, then they started saying they were going to scrap their own taxes.
Kind of the very Stockholm syndrome thing you wanted to get us into.
Sinister. Like it was a very sinister move. But I mean, it was all because they wanted to win power. So they didn't get it. So Mahama sees the need to assure Ghanaians that, in my 120 days, I will assure you of trying to get back, all of the money stolen by people
even
who
the
held
oral
positions. So that was why the aura was put in place. People have raised concerns about the legitimacy and then the legality or the legal powers of aura. But the point is that if the government or the president says it's a preparatory committee to get all the evidences and then subsequently like give those documents to the Attorney General.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Of course.
People have talked about it as a witch hunting.
Yeah, I've heard mostly from the MPP, right?
But you see the point, and I love what Manasseh Azuri said just this past week. He said that if there's nothing wrong with witch hunting, if indeed we are catching the witches,
exactly,
the witches need to be hunted, right?
Yeah,
we need to make sure that, and like this whole narrative that is put out there, oh, we are witch hunting. The point is that, see, we cannot have people steal from the state, from
government
the public
lands, especially.
Yes.
Oh, bro.
They are taking lands. You're stealing from the state, and we just get those people and say that we name and shame them. It's not about naming and shaming. We need to retrieve those things that have been stolen. So it's all part of the 120 days agenda. I feel that the 120 days agenda from the president is just to let Ghanaians know that, hey, we mean business. My government means business. I'm coming back to right all the wrongs of the previous government. And we are just going to show you signs and indications of that in the first 120 days.
That's good. And I'm back to Ghana as let's say, a player on the West African scene, right?
Yeah.
We've been able to have consistent elections and safe elections, for the past how many elections have we had so far?
We've had 8
elections.
Yes. So 19 from 1992. So 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, 2024. So 9 elections. Yeah.
And it's been fairly smooth, with its, bumps here and there, but on the larger scale, it's been smooth. Even with this, I like the fact that Baumia even conceded when he saw that, the preliminary results, was like, okay, cool, that's it. And everything went smooth. Looking on the sub-region, how would that influence? Because we are having conflicts on, and Burkina Faso, we have Niger doing their own thing, Mali is also doing their own thing, we form the Sahel region and everything. How can Ghana be, let's say, an influential player in this, looking at how things are going? I know Mahama is one of the most experienced leaders in Africa, in our sub-region, compared to, like, if you look at all the presidents that come, I think Mahama is one of the most experienced ones, right? And he was also the one that was also voted twice or something as the, is it ECOWAS thing? Sure. How can we influence to stop all these, chaos happening on our sub-region? Because eventually it will affect us. We cannot just turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
What's happening in Burkina Faso is seeping into the northern part of Ghana. And do you have any opinions on that? What do you think? How can we do something
So Ghana, I mean, Kwame Nkrumah said, like, we are the Black Star of Africa. Ghana has always been a role model to other countries, not even in the West African sub-region, like the bigger.
And I know that African leaders were coming to Kwame Nkrumah to learn how to free themselves and all that.
Exactly. I remember when we gained independence in 1957, right after that, there was a surge.
Yeah.
In 1960. So I remember it's called the year of something. The 1960s was a year of independence of Africa, because you had majority of countries gaining their independence within that time. You had Nigeria, you had several countries in the sub-region. And it was all because Ghana took the lead to be that example, that we fought for our independence, we gained independence. And Dr. Kwame Nkrumah took it as, an agenda to make sure that other African states were liberated from colonialism. And it has, from that time, Ghana had always become this example to other African countries, especially the Anglophone countries. And because of that, you have always seen Ghana being referred to in conversations of democracy, how we've been able, I mean, we had our turbulent times where,
of course, yeah.
We've gone in and out of, military rule and military takeovers. But from 1992 to now, we've had a relatively stable and comparatively stable democracy with 9 elections so far.
Yeah.
So other African countries have seen what we have done, and they've learned from it. You even see the speech of His Excellency Tinubu, who came to our inauguration, our president. He made reference to the fact that Ghana had really done well. We had even members of the diplomatic corps congratulating Dr. Baumia for conceding defeat.
Yeah, I think that was commendable.
Very early.
Very, very,
very, very early. And even way before the Electoral Commission puts out a provisional result. So I think that we have always been that big brother. Other African countries look at what we do. And it's no surprise that this particular election and the democracy that we have is going to affect, other countries. I like the fact that you had the military leader of Burkina Faso, Traoré, coming, and that was very, I don't know what to call it. I feel that it was very significant that,
because he's not traveled outside since
exactly that he came out and President Mahama shook his hand, for the whole nation. See, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 2 years, Traoré decides, if even he still wants to be president, decides to do what Jerry Rawlings did.
Just
transition from, military rule to democratic, to contest for an election. So I feel that it's a great thing that Ghana is leading the way and would always lead the way.
I like that. One thing I really want to see Ghana do is also economically, right? We need to be power players on the continent, because we used to be that, prior to time, but for the past 3-4 years, it's been down. And I hope this government have put plans in place where we can actually recover, our influence on the continent. In the sense that, like, in the, what do you call it, a macro economics. That's it's so bad. We've borrowed so much that people are now running away from us. It's like, Ghana don't touch. And that's it. It's so bad.
Investors.
And you in hindsight, you think about it, because the the incumbents said that you're going to build Ghana beyond aid, and Ghana became something different. We borrowed to a point that we've been blacklisted almost everywhere. Even normal Ghanaians are even feeling the effect of that, where you can't even do transactions to certain countries because we've been blacklisted there. And it's worrying the normal Ghanaian. Do you have faith that this new government will be able to at least, I think it would take a while before we get on a certain trajectory. Do you have faith in them to be able to put us on that trajectory?
So I believe that one of the things that, let me say, foreign investors also look at, if there has been a period of economic turbulence in a particular region, when they see a change in government, it restores hope. You know what I mean? So I'm just banking my hopes on the fact that if we have, as we've had a change of government, foreign investors will see the need to come and reinvest in our economy. Would have a lot more people deciding to do business with Ghana. I remember sometime, just about some few months ago, you had even the American embassy and the ambassador saying that they want Ghana to pay the outstanding debts that they have with people, Americans who have businesses, companies who have businesses.
Zipline and other companies were involved in that.
So you can just tell that with a change of government, there can be an indication of a certain hope that will be restored in our economy. I just hope that we'll be frugal in our expenditure. We would only spend when it is necessary. I like the fact that the current presidents, idea of running a lean government is something he has started implementing.
Exactly.
We are not going to have more than 60 ministers. We are going to see a lot of downsizing.
Yeah.
We are going to see a lot of, prudent spending.
Yeah.
We are going to see a lot more accountability. We are going to see a lot more transparency, in our finances as a government and as a people. So I think that generally the change of government brings a breath of fresh air and some hope. And as Ghanaians, we can only hope that this government succeeds, because the point is that if this government does not succeed, if even I'm a member of the MPP, if this government is shambolic in its management, when I go to the pumps to buy fuel, you're not going to ask me to show my party card, whether I'm MPP or NDC. When this whole area is going to be turned off in terms of like energy, lights, you're not going to see whether the majority of homes that they are going to turn off are members of the NDC or the MPP.
Exactly.
So the point is that once someone wins power, we all must eject from election mode and just get into patriotism mode. Now we just need to pray and help the current president to succeed. So if you are a head of a government institution, and you know that when you take this particular decision, it's going to cost the government. When you take this particular decision, you need to be patriotic enough and want to see, the government work. I feel like politicization of our institutions is what has killed government.
It's killed everything, bro.
Somebody who is in the Ghana Police Service, somebody who is in the military, somebody who is in the GRA, somebody is trying to, advance the interests of his political party or his political interests.
At the cost of the country.
At the cost of the country.
Exactly.
So we've seen these things happen several occasions, several instances, several situations. So I'm just hopeful that Ghanaians will just get to the point where we'll be like, no, we've done these things wrong and now we need to make them right.
Exactly.
And then we will just help this government. It doesn't matter whether I'm MPP, NDC, Cheddar, Movement for Change, whatever it is, but we just put ourselves, together and then make this country work.
Yeah, I have two questions. The first one is more about your opinion on what I personally think is a problem, right? It's the political appointments, especially to these government-owned institutions. I'm talking about the Cocoa Board and all that. And I don't see how we are appointing politicians into these places rather than well-deserved business people who know how to run these institutions, right? Because if you're talking about, I don't see why Randy Abbey is where he is in the Cocoa Board thing, because he's a sports analyst. How is he there in that sense? We're talking about all these places, and I find it problematic because that's the same thing MPP did, and I thought it would be different, but in that little transition, I'm seeing these things, and it's getting me worried because I don't see how a lifetime politician is now running a whole institution that you've never held a leadership role in any of that. You've never even raised up a business or anything like that. But then again, you're running a whole institution. How are you able to do that? You get me? That's my problem. The other parts, I understand the ministries and all that makes sense. But with these things that are very vital to economy, I think you should rather put experienced people who know what they're talking about, who know the job into it. That's my personal opinion. I don't understand that. That's one thing that I always fight with, regardless of MPP or NDC. Why are you appointing people who necessarily don't deserve to get that role? They can be somewhere, but that role, why?
So there's a bit of, I think that maybe some information needs to be put out there because you specifically mentioned Dr. Randy Abbey.
Yeah.
So Dr. Randy Abbey, I believe he has a doctorate in business administration. He has a DB, right? Now, if you look at that particular person, the fact that in the past you knew him to be somebody who engaged in like sports journalism, over the period he has been a media personality. Yeah. He has done a lot of things on the side. We probably may not be privy to his CV and what he has done on the side, in terms of management. or building competencies to manage a particular institution. I like to think that before he was appointed, the president definitely looked at his CV, definitely looked at his experience, and felt the need that his experience over the years, knowledge base, would advance, government's interest and the interest of the nation in that particular institution. So we may be wrong if we look at some people. If you look at the example, I know somebody like Samuel Bartels. He was a sports journalist with TV3.
Yeah.
Later on went to do law. He's a lawyer.
Oh, but
and I hear he's doing well.
But that's different.
So yeah, no, I'm making a point.
Okay.
So somebody like Bartels can be appointed into a position to head, let's say, a legal entity. And somebody will say, how do you go and bring somebody who has a sports, background? The point is, over the years, they have probably or most likely developed competencies in certain
that
fields.
Warrants them to be
that warrants it. Okay. I get the point that politicians use positions as a reward system.
Yeah.
For political, input.
Yeah.
Especially into campaign.
Political loyalty,
like
input.
Yeah. And all of that. And we feel mostly we feel that certain people are not right for certain positions because there isn't any evidence.
Yeah. Because I'm coming from let's say, a sentiment of a normal Ghanaian.
Yeah,
and what I see in that sense.
I get it. In fact, I have also shared opinions, similar opinions about some appointments.
Yeah.
Okay, that I feel that this person is not, poised or does not have the requisite skill set or experience to lead a particular institution. But the point is that we are not privy to all of the information about those people.
That's also right.
So we may be wrong. Maybe somebody will sit back and say, who is this guy you brought on this show to be talking on politics? The person may not know that I am doing a PhD from the University of Ghana.
Exactly.
They will be like, who is this guy?
For Twitter?
Is it this guy? Exactly my point.
Yes.
So I understand that sometimes the politicians use it as a reward system to reward people who don't deserve certain positions. But we have to be careful when we try to criticize those particular instances. The thing that the politicians do, which I feel is wrong, which I agree with you that you said, is giving positions to people who do not warrant to be in those positions.
Yes.
But it is done because it's just a way of saying, thank you for helping me win.
Exactly.
Or become president or win this election.
Yeah.
So I'm sure. And that's why most of the political parties, because they want the citizens to have the assurance that they have the men, as the MPP said during their time. You're having more and more party people from both sides.
Yeah.
MPP and DC, educating themselves, going to school.
I think we are one of the most learned in terms of our politicians.
They're parliamentarians. We have parliament in our parliament now. We have several lawyers.
Yeah.
Almost, I think 60% of them are lawyers.
Why? Why is it? Is it a trend or something? Because everybody's not a lawyer. What's going on?
No, I feel that in politics is because you deal with the law.
You have to be knowledgeable about that.
Yeah, and people see the need to want to do that. But I also know that there are several sectors of the economy where you can hone skills.
Exactly.
Like, for example, you have people who have PhDs in agriculture or agribusiness.
Yeah.
Agribusiness. And those people can head institutions that are related to agri.
Hence my sentiment. In that sense. Right?
Yeah, so I get it that we feel that some people do not deserve to be in certain positions. And it's right that we can have those reservations, but we also sometimes need to be careful when we do not know the CV and background of these people.
Yeah. Let's say, for lack of a better word, let's say I hope I didn't jump the gun on this, and I hope he proves me wrong in that sense.
Yeah.
Disappointment. I hope he does. I really, really hope for the betterment of our country, because cocoa is a very vital product in terms of our GDP and everything. It's very, very important. I hope he does something to change that. And so ideally, the last question I'm going to ask you is, what's your predictions or your hope for Ghana in the next 4 years? What do you think would want to happen in that sense?
So I'm of the fervent view that it is in the interest of our democracy that the NDC, this current NDC government, succeeds.
Yeah, I do believe that.
There was an Afrobarometer, research and report that came out before the election, and it said that we had a dwindling number of people who have lost interest or faith in our democracy. And I believe that it's as a result of, over the period, consistent, disappointment in leadership.
Especially in the last 4 years.
You liken it to marketing.
Yeah.
If a company keeps disappointing you, sometimes our telecommunications
I was about to say
service, our providers, telecommunication providers, you keep complaining about one that you use several times. The next thing you know is you have dropped that SIM card and you bought a SIM card for a different number, or you've gone to port that number. So I feel like we've gotten to a point where the anger of Ghanaians is not just towards, one government that comes and fails, but it's just towards the kind of democracy we are running. Democracy that is powered and influenced by money.
Yeah.
So the highest, the highest bidder, and people would collect monies from the highest bidder to go and vote for them. So because of that, politicians have understood that money is the game.
It's very sad.
We use money to influence election and influence the minds of voters. That is where our politics has gotten to.
I remember the by-elections where people were furious that, okay, why am I not getting this money?
This money. We heard 300 has been shared and they only came to give us 100. And that's why we're angry with this member of parliament. We're angry. All these stories. And so there's a lot of what we call clientelism. Voter handouts, monies are being given. People are manipulating voters using different things to manipulate them just to vote for them. So that's the direction we are going to. Politics of money, governance of the wealthy.
Yeah.
So it's in the interest of everybody who wants to go into politics is to just go in there, make money, and use the money to sustain their power.
Exactly.
And it's just unfortunate. I believe that we may not find ourselves in a situation where there can easily be a coup in Ghana. We may not, as compared to some other countries in Africa. But I believe that we must be careful that we do not get to that point. You saw the way people chanted when Traore.
Yeah, I was like, this is not good, huh?
Yeah,
they're rising.
It's crazy how people would chant and what we say, give funds to a military leader of another country. And
it's like, have we forgotten that we just came there from what?
In fact, there is a Afrobarometer report that said that a number of Ghanaians, increasing number of Ghanaians, felt that where we've got into, we need a military rule.
Yeah, I hear that sentiment. So randomly, people say that.
So my point is that I'm hoping that in the next 4 years, the NDC, this particular government, will succeed. Ghanaians would see some hope, some future.
For the sake of Ghana.
For the sake of Ghana, to be patriotic so that we can have our democracy. And I'm just hopeful because now people are wild. People are aware. A lot of young people have political awareness. So
I'm really happy about
on social media, on their phones, they would be tracking what the politicians say. They would
hold you accountable.
They will hold them accountable.
Exactly.
So I'm just hoping, and it's my belief that this government succeeds for the betterment and in the interest of our democracy.
I hope so too. Bro, Charlie, thank you for coming.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Bless.
Yeah.
Charlie.
All right.